Hey everyone, and welcome back to Dallas Cowboys coverage. After a huge Week 1 win over the Browns, the Cowboys take care of business, getting a 33-17 win. But honestly, it wasn't even really as close as the score would suggest. Cowboys were dominant in this game. After a little bit of a rough first drive, they came out firing. They really got it going on offense, and the defense was absolutely incredible. I'm gonna break it all down here, and just excited that Cowboys are back. Let me know your one word reaction from everything that happened today, because there was a lot of it. So for me, it was a good day. Let's get into it. So before we get into the game, I do want to talk about number 4. Dak Prescott does get the new deal finally. 4 years, $240 million. That is the largest contract for any player in NFL history. $60 million a year, which is absolutely an insane number. You didn't get a discount with him. I know there are people that wanted that, but reality is it's business. Dak earned it. You can say what you want, but he was the MVP runner-up last year, coming off the best season of his career. When you're the top quarterback, when you're a top quarterback at your position, it's time to get paid. You're going to be the highest paid. It's just the way of the market right now. We've seen it all off season long. It was just Dak's turn. So I'm glad they got the deal done. I could talk about this for a while. We've been over it. Wish they did this back in the spring. If you were going to do it, why wait? You could have used this money, because there's so much concern. I've seen all this, now we can't pay Micah. Now, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? Calm down just for a minute, because the reality is you just freed up cap space by making this move. I know it might sound crazy, but we've been over this. Dak's cap hit was sitting at $55 million prior to this deal. It's an insane number. You can't carry that realistically, on an NFL roster. By doing this deal, you have now pushed all this money over the next 5 years. It distributes. So I'm not sure what the exact numbers are. That'll come out a little later. But your cap hit is no longer $55 million for this year. It's probably down to 20, somewhere around there. You have saved money by getting this deal done. It has been pushed into the future. When the cap will go up anyway, it's going to be okay. We have plenty of money to sign everyone we need to next offseason, whenever that may be. However, if you had done this a few months ago, back during free agency, you would have saved that money then. And all of a sudden, Derrick Henry, all these players that, were too expensive to sign, promise you would have had the money. So I can talk about this forever. I know I've gone over it in previous videos, but I wish you had done this sooner. End of the day, I'm glad it's done. You saved money. You have freed up cap space by doing this deal. I know that sounds sort of ambient. It's weird, but it's true. It's just the nature of the cap. It's no longer all on this 1 year. It's dispersed over 5. So his salary hit actually goes down, even though you paid him. So that works out from that end. CeeDee Lamb's deal, off the rookie deal, it distributes. It's all fine. In terms of cap hit, you're in an okay situation right now. Could have been better if you did this a little while ago, but reality is next offseason, you're going to have plenty of money to sign all the people you need. You heard it right now. You're going to have the money. I don't want to hear any excuses next offseason. You can pay Parsons and then some. It's just going to be a matter of, is the front office willing to actually go all in, willing to actually get these players? We will see, obviously. But for now, Dak's deal is done. I'm glad, once again, just the distraction of it is over. Dak, CeeDee, check, done, locked in for the next 4 or 5 years. It's positive. 5 years for both of them, actually, this year, plus the 4 years of the extension. So, obviously, just glad it's done. Glad it's done. So, we'll talk more about that later if you guys want to, but let's get into the game, because it was a good one. The Cowboys 33-17, like I said, it really wasn't even that close. The Browns kind of racked up the stats into garbage time, but reality was this game was over in the second quarter. The Cowboys were dominant defensively. The offense was clicking in the first half. They didn't really – I wish the effort was a little bit better in the second half. They really were kind of ultra conservative. It is what it is. But, this is a game that was over. You can't blame them too much from that fault. But end of the day, the offense was very solid, especially in the first half. Zeke was impressive. I loved it. I'm a big Zeke fan, you guys know. But, this was really good. I was very impressed with what I saw. Only 10 carries, but he had 40 yards in the touchdown. he really looked solid. He had some pop that I think it had been a little while since we've seen from Zeke. It was impressive. He looked fresh. He looked healthy. He came hurdling a guy standing up right out of the gate. That's what you want to see. And, to me, Zeke just looked like a guy that was sort of out there re-energized, rejuvenized. Check out his Instagram post. That's kind of what he alluded to. This is a guy that is back where he belongs, back where he wants to be. And you can tell, his relationship with Dak, with the entire team. He's happy to be here. And I think he just sort of has a new motivation, even in year 9. Just, I don't know, new number, new, return. He just, I don't know, somehow feeling like a rookie again. And it showed. It showed. He really, really put on a good performance. That touchdown, just the way he sort of laid back and soaked it all in. It was really nice to see. I'm glad Zeke's back. Glad to see him eating again. I was really, really, really impressed with what I saw from him. Dowdle was solid as well. My one thing with the running game, though, is let's not do drive of Zeke, drive of Dowdle. Drive of Zeke, drive of... It doesn't make sense. That's lazy coaching, McCarthy. Come on now. You can do better than that. Zeke is going to be your main back for now. That's the way it's looking. And Dowdle is sort of your traditional third down running back, if you guys have played Madden. Just all that means is that change of pace back. What Pollard was for you 2 years ago when Zeke was still here. The first time, obviously. That sort of change up. That's something different. Zeke's the power guy. Obviously he can run people over. He can jump over people too. Dowdle, I think has a little bit more speed at this point in their careers. And it's just sort of that knowing when to have them in at the right times. Zeke, obviously he can run. We saw it. But man, the value of him pass blocking, it's impressive. If you guys saw that one play where the guy was about to clobber Dak, Zeke stood his ground and held that dude down. That's part of what he offers you. He's, in my opinion, the best run blocking running back or pass blocking running back in the league. Maybe on Derrick Henry or something. But Zeke, he offers a lot more, in different aspects of the game. Dowdle does too in other aspects of the game. So don't do a drive of Zeke, a drive of Dowdle. Do Zeke and then put in Dowdle for a change of play. For a pass play, keep in Zeke so he can help pass protect. Check a guy. It's those type of strategical things that obviously as the year goes on, I'm sure they'll kind of get down. But, let's not be lazy and preset our lineups here. Just, you got to adjust for what's going on and what's working. And that's just going to be a part of it. CeeDee Lamb looked solid. He had that again, kind of a tale of two halves for most of the offense. Had that incredible over-the-shoulder, head-topping catch. Really started off the offense, kind of got them going really well. I think he was solid. Had a few drops. The Cowboys did a lot of slants with him and Dak. Kept not working out. That they'll get that going as the season goes on. It's just a matter of CeeDee hasn't been here. There's going to be a little bit of rust to shake off. But overall, he'll be fine. He looked solid. Brandin Cooks, left the game momentarily, had a sort of a dehydration issue. We were hearing a lot about that. It's another thing that I wish they'd play him a little more in the preseason because I think week 1, you go from walkthroughs and training camp to a full-fledged game. It can become a little bit of a shock, physically especially. So saw a little bit of that. Kendricks, Brandin Cooks, guys kind of just looking a little bit, dehydrated out there. So that's something, I think as we ramp back up, we'll be fine. Just, again, week 1, shaking off that rust, getting back into the swing of things. But Brandin Cooks, great touchdown in the first half. He really was a solid player for you. He's your wide receiver too. Jalen Tolbert, through all the hype in the offseason, was unfortunately really not a factor for you. I'm hoping that he can kind of step into that role. But, like Gallup was a lot last season, just a lot of hype, didn't really get going. Obviously, there's a lot of time. Hopefully, Tolbert can kind of step into that role. Obviously, Jalen Brooks had some plays. Ryan Flanoy, I've seen a lot of people hoping he was playing. Was a game day inactive. I understand it. He doesn't really have the seniority of some other guys. But, if Tolbert's not going to step up, maybe a guy like Flanoy will, It's just going to be a matter of who has the hot hand and who's going to, get that opportunity to step up. So we'll definitely have to see it from that standpoint. Over to the tight ends, did want to mention Jake Ferguson, obviously, did leave that game in the second half with the knee injury. A little bit scary, obviously, when we're talking with knee injuries, it's always a bit of a concern. But, luckily we got some good news after the game. There were no crutches, no anything, nothing like that, just an ice pack on his knee. The word is it's looking like it's probably a hyperextension. He said he could have played through it. So to me, he's probably going to be questionable for next week. We'll see. But fortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be a long-term issue from him. He did avoid an ACL injury. That's been reported. So he'll have an MRI tomorrow, completely full-fledged it out. But for now, it's looking like it's good news. Probably just going to be a hyperextension on that front. So outside of that, just truly hoping that he is good and he can stay healthy, because Schoonmaker, still yet to see a whole lot out of him. John Stevens is already banged up. So the tight end room that is 4 deep is just pretty thin in terms of talent right after Ferguson. So it's going to be something to monitor for sure. Moving into the offensive line, I think this is a tough test. The number one defense, as we've heard throughout the entire broadcast, I think I think our defense outplayed them for sure. But yeah, you've got some tough pass rushers on that team. Tyler Guyton probably got the toughest test that he'll face this entire season right out of the gate with Myles Garrett. And it wasn't always pretty. He did allow a sack. But overall, got to hand it to him, I think. As a rookie coming in against the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, I think he held his own pretty well. Obviously, there's going to be some great pass rushers throughout the season, but Tyler Guyton, a guy who I think is going to be great in this league as he continues to progress and develop. But overall, not a bad showing in my opinion. Cooper Beebe looked solid, for his first ever pro regular season game at center. You wouldn't have known it. He really did a good job in my opinion. Tyler Smith was solid. Terrence Steele, he was okay. Had a few slip-ups. And Zach Martin was, frankly, a little bit disappointing to start off. He allowed that opening sack to Dalvin Tomlinson. Just, not something you usually see from Martin. Just the block was shed right off. Zach Martin, obviously a future Hall of Famer. All-pro, all-decade type of player. But the age, it's starting to show just a little bit. We saw it last season. Saw it in this game, hoping that he can sort of rebound. Obviously, he's a veteran. He'll be okay. He's never going to be the problem on this offensive line, but obviously look for him to lock in as the season goes on, kind of get back to his form. So, talk about the offense again. Tale of two halves. Great in the first, a little shaky in the second. They'll iron that out. I trust them. But over the defense, man, that was something to watch. It was beautiful. The entire unit, front, back, bottom, left, right, switch it up, whatever. Incredible all the way around. I mean, the pass rush was amazing. The linebackers were excellent. The secondary was insane. This defense, if they play like this every week, I said it last year, I'll say it again, they can win championships with this defense. This is the type of defense that elevates to that level. New coach, Mike Zimmer, I think, they've looked even better. The ball hawking is still there. I give Dan Quinn still a lot of credit. He developed some guys in an incredible way. And I think, you can't ignore what he did for this team. However, I think the main problem was run defense and discipline. Two things that Mike Zimmer is coming in and has already made a huge, huge impact on coming in. The run defense was so much better. You brought in veterans like Jordan Phillips, like Linval Joseph. They didn't play a ton, but they were solid when they were in the game. Osa was good. Mozzie was better. He looked solid, not in terms of stat sheet, but the run defense, really good all the way around. Chauncey Golston had a solid game as well. This is what you need. Marshawn Kneeland, DeMarcus Lawrence on the edges. Great run stoppers. And this is just the thing that we've had these issues the last few years. The run defense and the discipline. Mike Zimmer coming in, he's a tough coach. He is, if you guys didn't know, he actually was around for the Super Bowls. So in the 90s, yeah, he was a defensive assistant back then. Now he's brought back a strong side, of this defense, sort of just that solid, disciplined style of play. The talent has been there for sure, but if you can continue to get this type of consistency throughout an entire game and over the course of the season, man, this defense is going to be scary. Browns step aside. This is the number one defense, I think, for this season if they keep playing like this. Break it down player by player. DeMarcus Lawrence is a guy that is so underrated all the time. It's always like, didn't show up on the stat sheet, maybe like you'd expect, but he's always there. Today, he was always there and he showed up on the stat sheet. 2 sacks, he was clogging the run. He was awesome. DeMarcus Lawrence, have a day. 2 sacks already. He was a tank out there for sure. I mean, Micah Parsons was amazing. He had, I think, 9 pressures, which is absolutely insane. Overall, we had, I think, almost 20 pressures for the unit. Incredible. Parsons had a sack, a TFL, 5 QB hits. He was really solid. Even when he wasn't actually making the play, he was really stepping up and creating for other people. We saw so many just, good solid pass rushes. Marshawn Kneeland was there. Chauncey Golston was there. All these type of players, you lost a lot of pass rushers this offseason. You did. But they really have stepped up, these new guys, and they've made an impact so far. And I'm really excited to see as they continue to ramp up and as we continue to get more guys coming in. Carl Lawson, Dalvin Cook offensively, we didn't see him in this game. Look for him to be a practice squad elevation going forward, though. These type of guys, too, as they continue to learn the offense, continue to get adjusted. Same thing even with Joseph and Jordan Phillips. As they continue to get that, pitch count up here, it's impressive. And I'm excited to see what they can continue to do. Switching up from that, moving up to the linebackers. Man, Eric Kendricks was good. He's my player of the game. Lock it in. 9 tackles, 2 sacks, and an interception, along with, I think, maybe a TFL or something like that. He was awesome. Eric Kendricks coming in, being that Leighton Vander Esch replacement, being that veteran presence, that leader in this Mike Zimmer defense. He was awesome. He was everything you wanted him to be and more. He looked like Pro Bowl form. Eric Kendricks out there, so excited. If he can continue to do half of that going forward, man, you got possibly a Pro Bowl linebacker again. So good. Moving on from him, DeMarvion Overshown. Oh, man, he was sweet out there. I think he had 11 combined tackles. Absolutely insane. He was flying around. That one, Deshaun Watson, looked like he was going to get an edge. He thought he was going to get the first down. Overshown had other plans. He planted him. Had another big QB hit on him as well. Overshown, so fast. He's one of the fastest linebackers in the entire league. You wouldn't have known he just had ACL surgery. He looked awesome. Maurice Liufau didn't actually get a ton of run, even though he was technically listed as the starter. He was solid, though, as well. His speed, what he does, again, this team in a position where we were concerned about the depth, all of a sudden is looking like a strength. And don't even forget about Damone Clark. I think with these new guys coming in, it was sort of like, oh, yeah, he's on the team too, right? He was solid as well. You have so much depth at this linebacker position that, maybe weren't even expecting to have. Nick Vigil was another guy who was elevated, played some snaps in the second half. You're deep. In a position we were concerned about, all of a sudden, it's a position of value. It's a position of strength on this defense. Can't wait to see what they can continue to do going forward. It was pretty awesome. And then into the secondary, I'll start off with the safeties. Donovan Wilson, man, he was solid out there, delivering some big hits. Malik Hooker as well, and Marquise Bell didn't get a ton of playing time, but was solid as well. These safeties, some of them, like linebackers, last season, kind of playing that more natural role, especially Marquise Bell, Wanye Thomas. You're so deep in the safety position as well. It's just that extra layer of, whether you're going to play them in the box, whether they're going to be high. They're really, really doing a good job. And expanding on the secondary, man, the cornerbacks. So good to have Trevon Diggs back. Got that interception already, starting off his interception tally. Looking for him to keep going with that. Already has one on the season. He's so good. So good to have him back. Another guy, never would have guessed he was coming off an ACL injury. So solid in coverage. You didn't even see him throwing at him. He was locked down. And that's, I think the thing that Trevon Diggs has been criticized over so much. He's a ball hawk. He's going to get these picks. Everyone knows that. But the knock has been the coverage skills, allowing too much. The Diggs of this year and of last year before the injury hasn't been that. He has been shut down in addition to the ball skills. Diggs, welcome back. So glad to have you. Obviously, Bland is on injured reserve. We'll see him as he returns in probably four weeks from now. I sort of ballpark that. But man, Caelen Carson, the new 21 on defense, what a job. A 5th round rookie thrown into the fire, having to replace a guy like Jourdan Bland. he was solid. He locked up Amari Cooper. I was impressed. I mean, he wasn't perfect. He did allow that one touchdown late, sort of just this little out route. It was garbage time anyway. But man, for his first game, 5th-round pick thrown into that, role on defense, excellent job. He's only going to get better. I'm so pleased with him. I'm so pleased with this draft class. Honestly, I mean, last year was a bit of a disappointment from a draft standpoint. This year, man, it's been good. The offensive line, the young guys, so solid. Overshown, technically not a rookie, but it's his first year as well. Leafau, Caelen Carson, Kneeland, the list goes on. Man, this rookie class is looking absolutely stacked. I know it's only been a week, but man, watch out for these rookies as the season goes on. It's going to be exciting for sure. Jourdan Lewis, another guy, the Unsung Hero Award winner. If you guys saw that on the Cowboys Instagram a few days ago, he does the dirty work. He's never going to get the Pro Bowls. He's never going to get the attention that he really deserves. Jourdan Lewis, there's a reason they've re-signed him over and over again since he was drafted in 2017. Solid player, made some great tackles today. He's great in that slot. I mean, whether he's playing in the box, covering those little slants in the slot, making tackles, coming in, whatever he's asked to do, he does it, and he's clutch, man. He really had a good game as well. The list goes on. Any defensive player today really was so good. Even into special teams, Bryan Anger was great as usual, averaging almost 50 yards a punt. Brandon Aubrey, awesome, man. I'm so disappointed he got robbed of that 66-yarder. We saw it in the preseason. We saw it today, even though it didn't count because McCarthy allowed a delay of game to happen. Made me a little frustrated. Let me know, would he have made that kick if he had let him kick from 71? If they had let him kick that 71-yard field goal, would he have made it? Let me know in the comments. Man, I think he might have. Brandon Aubrey is so good. Justin Tucker, looking like he's showing his age just a little bit. In my opinion, Brandon Aubrey is the number 1 kicker in the league right now. He has maybe the strongest leg in NFL history. And I know it sounds insane, but he made that 66-yarder in the preseason and today with ease. I mean, he could have had quite a few more yards on each of those. It's incredible what he does. He is so accurate. He is so strong. Dan Bailey, for years was a staple in Dallas. One of the best kickers in NFL history, in my opinion. So reliable, so consistent. So happy to have him for so many years. He's always my kicker on our all-time team. Man, I would not have believed you if you told me that you'd find one even better, but that's what Brandon Aubrey has been. Apologize, my light having a little bit of issues here. Sorry about that. But man, Brandon Aubrey, he's been so special. What he's been able to do in just now his second year, it's incredible, and he's seemingly getting better. Just remember, this was a soccer player. This guy didn't play football until the USFL. What he has done coming in Dallas, being this most reliable kicker in the entire league, it's special to see it. And I'm so thankful and so excited just for what Brandon Aubrey brings. So excited for this team. Week 1, let me know your grade. Let me know your player of the game. There's a lot of good options, but for me, it's an A. You performed so well on really all 3 sides of the ball. We'll talk about, we talked about the offense, hoping for a little bit more consistency in the second half, continuing to develop the ground game. There's things you can work on. Obviously, it's week 1. But man, that's how you start a season. I think the Cowboys went in feeling, honestly, a bit disrespected. That's how I felt. The Browns, I know they made the playoffs last year, but you were a road underdog in week 1 against the Browns. I don't care what it is. They're still the Browns. And, this team is, honestly, I think a team that's feeling disrespected. Obviously, you had that rough outing last year, and obviously in the playoffs, it was rough. You can look back at that video, but this team is ultra talented. Outside of the 49ers, I still think we're the best team in the NFC. Argue with me if you want. That's my opinion. I'll stand on that. This team should not have been underdogs to the Browns. They were never underdogs in their opinion. They came out swinging. They came out strong. and they came out tough. They won this game convincingly. It was over in the second quarter. It wasn't even as close as the score showed. This is a very good football team. Despite the offseason, despite the front office, despite everything we've talked about, reasons for concern. End of the day, this is a top football team in the NFL. I think, one of the media outlets ranked us as 17th on their opening season power rankings. It's disrespectful. It's simple as that. This team has work to do. This team is by far, there's a long way to go, for sure. This is week one. I'm not gonna go crazy or anything. I know we have a tendency to do that, but this is a very good team. I think you could have been better, honestly. Despite your lack of offseason moves, this is a very talented football team. You had 9 All-Pros last season. It shows. This is a very, very talented roster. They have work to do. This is just the beginning. And again, I apologize for the light situation here. I'll have to work on that. But this is a very good team. This is a very, very strong team. Offensively, defensively, special teams, all the way around. This is a very talented roster. I can't wait to see what we can do going forward. You were disrespected week one. All these teams acting like, the Cowboys, I get it. There's been disappointments, but at the end of the day, we are still a top team in the NFC. We're still a top team in this league. Let's get to work. Let's come out next week at home. The Saints obviously getting all this hype as well. There's going to be hype around them. They beat up the Panthers, sorry, I'm not even going to get into the Panthers. Go prove it again. Keep this chip on your shoulder. Keep feeling that disrespect and go out there. Let's win another one. This is just the beginning for this team. Obviously, there's a lot to do, long way to go, but this is a team that has a lot of talent, has a lot of potential to be great this season. Despite everything, this is a good group. This is a good team, and man, this is a good defense. It's going to be fun, obviously, as we continue to go forward, continue to develop. Hope you guys stick around. So thanks again for watching. I will see you guys next time. Again, what a week one. Predict the score for me for next week, week 2. If anyone gets it correctly, going to give you a shout out for sure. Obviously, an incredible day for the Cowboys. Great day to be a fan. Obviously, this is just the beginning. Let's come back next week even stronger. Thanks again for watching, guys. I will see you guys next time, and go Cowboys.